Welcome to Chamber Exchange, the TV show. My name is Tim Murray, President and CEO of the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce. And Chamber, the TV show, is brought to you by our sponsors, Bank Hometown and the Worcester Railers Hockey Club, who have launched their season, 2021-2022 hockey season. And we're thrilled to have you with us as we talk about issues of economic development and public policy here in the city of Worcester and all of central Massachusetts. I'm thrilled to have with us on this segment Jason Homer, who's the Executive Director of the Worcester Public Library. Jason, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, I guess it's a fairly new role. I mean, how long now at the Worcester Public Library?
You know, on my way here is thinking it's coming up on 11 months, but it's still starting a pandemic makes it feel so new every day. So it's both feels like 3 days and 3 years at the same time. That's
right. Well, I mean, you'll probably be still a couple of years with people calling you, you knew, but your experience, you know, in the library space as a professional librarian is not new. You've worked for over 12 years in a variety of different roles in the public library space. Maybe you could share with our viewers a little bit of that background.
Certainly. My very first library job was in Middleborough, where I worked in circulation. I did some work with teens there. My first professional job was actually here in Worcester at WPI, and that was my very first professional librarian job, and loved that role, but really wanted to be in public libraries. So I hopped around mostly Metro West, Wellesley, Natick, and Marlborough before coming here in Worcester. So.
And you know, coming to a city like Worcester, you know, urban city, the second largest city in New England, not completely unfamiliar having grown up in Brockton, correct?
Yeah, and my goal in libraries was to work with at-risk communities and go towards more communities with more diversity, and I wasn't hitting that, and it was a really good moment in the pandemic to be reflective about my purpose and what I want to do. And growing up in Brockton, I learned so many things from different cultures that I wanted to be in a community that I could really embrace that. And when I saw the Worcester job open, I had to come running. So
and a heck of a time to come and take the leadership position at the Worcester Public Library as Executive Director during a pandemic. What was that like? And probably not a lot of time to just kind of sit and watch and observe. You had to react and execute.
Yeah, I had to change policies and rules day one, and I didn't know everyone's names, but I was changing how we were going about work. We're also in the middle of a construction at the time, so It was new role, construction, pandemic, and make decisions quickly, pivot quickly, and work with a community that was excited to have me there, but I also couldn't connect directly with because I couldn't pop into this coffee shop because it was closed, and I could. So it was definitely a unique and challenging time to start.
And you mentioned, you know, in addition to the pandemic, but a major construction project, completely reorienting the front of the library, expanding, you know, the openings, a whole new section, you know, for children, young adults. Why don't you talk about that expansion, kind of the size and scope?
Certainly. So we had a major addition to the library in 2001, and in that place the children's room on the first floor, but ultimately did not open the library up to downtown Worcester. So our main entrance was still in what I call the back of the building. I don't think many people call it that, just us newbies. And so the McGrath lot entrance is where most people were experiencing. So you had to walk all the way down pretty much a city block and disconnect from the center of the city. So this front door, that is now in Franklin.
Which is ironic because the part of the building fronted the common.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have a front door, and it is facing Franklin Street and the common, and our intention there was to be more participatory in downtown and make sure that we were connecting with our businesses downtown, working with the respective parties in downtown, and also making it more walkable and making the library more accessible. We also moved the children's room because we couldn't have children's room in the middle of that, because I know that when I was a child I was a runner, and if my mom wasn't looking I was down the street and I would have been in Kelly Square before anyone noticed. And so I understand why we had to pull that children's room up to the third floor, but it gave us some more square footage with the children's room, which is has this whole theme of the universe, and so we have our Goddard rocket smack dab in the middle, pushing into this really unique LED backlit fabric ceiling that looks like the Milky Way, and is really meant to inspire the universe of stories that every child can uncover in a library, and that's I think one of my favorite pieces of the renovation, and definitely allows us to be more intentional and open to our community.
Well, it's an incredible space, and for our viewers who have not had a chance to visit the Worcester Public Library, main location, the headquarters, you need to do it. The children's the children's room, the teen room. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Certainly, our teen space, which was helped made possible by the Hanover Insurance. So the teen space is more than double the size, and actually we're seeing more than double the number of teens coming into the library from pre-pandemic numbers. We also saw in the pandemic a 600% increase for teen attendance. So we're really leaning in on being a better service for the teens in the city. Right next to it is our innovation center, which includes everything from a sewing machine to a 3D printer and everything in between, where we'll do different maker and innovator classes and courses and have people come in, but also allow some of our local creators to just print on a 3D printer that they don't have access to. What regular person has $4,000 to spend on a 3D printer. You can use the software to do that for free, and then you come in and you can print it.
Yeah. And that's really kind of just being true to an underlying principle or foundational element of what public libraries are all about. It's about universal access, making sure that all people have that access to information that's important to their quality of life, to their economic well-being. And if anything reinforced that was the pandemic as well as educational, access to educational information.
We saw people in the pandemic really lean into learning a new skill. One of our most popular programs was a Python coding class, which we have one of our librarians teach, and she is exceptional good coder, and she teaches a lot of people, and those classes book up instantly. We also saw in the pandemic that it became much bigger than just Worcester, which was really exciting. We saw a lot of other people come from our local towns within our community, but we also saw some really obscure ones. We didn't know that someone in one of our Zoom classes was zooming in from Australia and waking up in the middle of the night to do that, which was an interesting piece and shows how popular those programs had become.
Right. And having had the privilege a number of years ago to serve on the Worcester Public Library Board, there was a fact that I think a lot of people weren't aware of, and still true to this day. But at the time, I think there were 500,000 or 600,000 annual visitors to the Worcester Public Library, the downtown location, on a regular basis, and that was bringing more people downtown at the time virtually than anything else. A lot of things have changed for the positive since then, but you still play a incredibly important role in, the economics of the city and the downtown, but also to the economic, well-being and educational well-being.
Most certainly, and actually one of the cool things that we're seeing is I was walking by the third floor the other day, and there was two young gentlemen, probably mid-20s, and they brought their own monitors, and they were working on their building websites for their small business in the middle of the library, and that's exactly what our goal is, to be a resource, to be the internet connection they need to get that done, to give them the space to get that done, and to really help build these small entrepreneurs within our city.
In just a minute we have left, don't want to forget 7 branches and 2 mobile libraries as well.
Yes, 7 branches. We have we're 4 within public schools. We have our Francis Perkins branch up in the Greendale area and our Great Brook Valley. And our Great Brook Valley will undergo renovation with the Worcester Housing Authority. We're really excited about that. And of course, Libby and Lily will come visit wherever you are, because they're 2 mobile libraries.
Well, Jason Homer, Executive Director of the Worcester Public Library, thanks for being with us, and
thank you very much.
Look forward to having you back at some point.
Most certainly.
All right, stay with us. We're going to come and talk about MCAS.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.
Being associated with the Railers and being a part has been awesome, and it's been a lot of fun.
I think my students' initial reactions is my favorite part. Their eyes get really wide and they're in awe.
And then you have the excitement of hockey and you have that anticipation in the air, you know, the crowd getting into it. It's fun.